Good afternoon. Better late than never. Had a few glitches earlier on, but I think we've got it sorted out now. Hope everybody's okay. Hope everybody's healthy and their families are healthy and coping with the lockdown, as it were. I've got rid of the Hawaiian shirt by popular demand. My wife likes it anyway. But I've torquedified myself in wearing our blackout t-shirt that I'm now modelling for you. It's good publicity for the shirt in the shop and the Pro Direct who produced it. So well done, because it's a comfy top, and it was part of our 120 years anniversary shirt. And what a year this 120th year's been, but hopefully it can only get better. And we're ready for part 2 of the questions, and I'm nearly ready. There you go. So we've got another 7 questions, and we'll see how we go with them. All right. It's David McLaughlin from Paynton. He says, if you could sign any player, past or present, for Torquay United, who would it be and why? You know, the first one that springs into mind, and I've had some great players over the years, and he deserves a little bit of praise, Aaron Downs. I'd love to have Aaron fit, healthy, a couple of years younger, because he was a real stalwart and a real captain of teams. He helped me in my promotion when he was a player at Cheltenham. We took over at Cheltenham at the time. There was me, Downsy and Asa Hall, and we had to build a brand new team together, which we did. We got our promotion, and both Hawley and Downsy did very well and played their part. And then when I came to Torquay, Asa was already here, of course, and as soon as I could, I brought Aaron with me to Torquay to look after our defending and be my assistant. And as I say, if he was still fit, then it would be lovely. He's fit, but he's had a few operations over the years, and now's his time for coaching and management. But as I say, it's time he got a little bit of praise. So it's probably him. But if I could sign any player, I'd sign him on as a player. At the moment, there's no chance of that. But he would be the type that would be great in our team, alongside our other centre halves who are quite young and inexperienced. So you can send me that tenner, Downsy, later. But at least I've given you a little bit of publicity that you deserve. Well done, mate. Okay, second one. Stuart Fraser from Paynton. As far as I can see, there will be no resumption of football for at least the next 6 months. Well, let's hope we haven't got to wait 6 months, mate. But if that happens, which of the following options would you prefer? He says complete the current season and start the next one after, say, 1 month, but without any cup competitions. To be honest, I'll read the second one in a minute. But for me, they're doing it right at the moment. They're postponing the season. They've not cancelled it. They're postponing the season, which I'm obviously that's what we have to do with the current virus hanging around. But as soon as the virus finishes, we've got to have that option or that certainty that we will play league matches, finish the season. We've still got 10 games to play. Some have only got 7 or 8. But I want us to finish the season as and when we're allowed to, when the authorities give us permission to stop self-isolating so that we can get groups together again, i.e. crowds, etc. I want our football back as soon as we can. Now, obviously, we've got to do everything we can at this stage, but it'd be nice for all of us in our mental state if we knew that there was a possibility, once that virus curve starts coming down, that we could start thinking about playing in maybe around about end of May, start of June. It might be pie in the sky, looking through rose-coloured glasses, but that's how I want to think, and I've got faith in the officials that they'll get us this virus sorted out pretty soon and we can get back to normal life. Okay, so that's that. The second part was, or annul the current season and start the next one with the normal quota of league and cup matches if there is sufficient time. So I don't want to annul this season at all. I want to see the season out. I think most supporters want to see the season out, and then we'll see how far that takes us into the summer, and then think about next season as a carry-on after we've finished this one. So they're my views. He's got a secondly here and a finally. Secondly, how will either of these options affect the players on loan? We don't know that yet because we're still waiting for the initiatives from the National League and the Football Association, because they're the ones that we're beholden to. They're the ones making all the rules, making sure that everything's legal as far as contracts are concerned, as far as loan players are concerned, and whether we can add to people's contracts, extend them to play the games. So to be honest with you, that's what we're waiting for. And if it goes beyond the 30th of June, we hope that we've still got the loan players. That needs a change of rule. We hope that players will extend their contracts till the end of the games, the end of this season. So that's what we're after. I'm after anyway. Finally, how are the wages of the current playing staff going to be paid? Well, at this moment in time, the club is still paying the players' wages. Will Clark Osborne be amenable to funding this expenditure? He is at this moment in time. Or do you think that he will cut his losses and pull the plug? It's a bit strong that, Stu, but anyway, I don't think he will. I'm pretty certain he will. He won't. I'm absolutely certain he won't, because actually from the day I started, the club's vision hasn't changed, and nothing has changed going forward, and I'm grateful for that. I think they're looking at it very professionally, and I trust them to do the right thing by this football club. So hopefully that answers your question there, Stu. Next question is from Ian O'Sullivan from Newton Abbott. How did you come to be manager of Latvia? Wow, how long you got, mate? And how did you get over the language issue, and how on earth would you know of any players? Well, obviously I didn't know any players, and briefly I was asked to go and meet the president of the Latvian Football Federation, who somehow heard about me from his sources over in England. I was at Watford at the time working with Graham Taylor, and I met him in London. I met him at the Grosvenor Hotel in London. If he'd have asked me to go into Joe's Cafe in Watford, then I'd never have been Latvian manager. I wouldn't have gone. But he told me that he wanted someone to come over and look at his team, which was also Skronto Riga. He was president of the national team and of Skronto Riga. And they were playing in a winter tournament in Moscow. And I said to Graham Taylor, would you mind if I went? And he said, yes, he would mind. He didn't want me to go. And I said, well, it's the summer, and I feel I'm a big boy now, and I'd like to go. And he said, all right then, if you want to go. So I said, well, I must go. And you like that one? I said I must go, and I ended up going and finding a little player called Marian Pahars, who played in that tournament. He was the best player on the day in a 30,000 seater indoor stadium in Moscow that they were playing this tournament. And I said I could, to the president of Latvia, that I think I could do something for him. I came back, I told Graham Taylor about him, and Graham said, we've got our squad. And so I told Dave Jones about him, who was manager at Southampton at the time, and we'd done our badges together. So that's how I knew him. He had one look at him, loved him, took him on board, and the rest is history. Marianne kept Southampton single-handedly that year in the Premiership. We then had an offer for he had an offer for another one of the players, Igor Stepanovs from Arsenal, and they paid a lot of money for him, and I'm king of Latvia. So I think they applied to Watford and asked Graham if they could approach me to be their national coach. I think they saw pounds, shillings and pence in their eyes. And although he didn't want to, he knew that I wanted to do it, so he took the compensation, and I became the Latvian coach. So to get the full story, you'll have to read my book, mate, when it comes out. And then you say, did you make any contacts that could sign for the Yellows? Yes, I made lots of contacts. That was a particularly good couple of years they had in Latvia. And they haven't really had a side that's had the individual quality to bring them over to England at this present time. So I've certainly got good contacts over there. Anyway, that's the Latvian situation. And then he says, did I receive a warm welcome from Yeovil on Boxing Day, and what's it like to return to a club that you have spent such a long time at? I had some good years at Yeovil. Obviously, we took them from the National League to the Championship, so obviously there was a great relationship between me and my staff and the supporters, and they were heady years, and hopefully I can try and do my best to do the same for Torquay. We got one step from the Conference South to the National League. But it was nice to go there. I certainly was well received, which was nice. Except, you know what I'm going to say now, the bit I didn't enjoy was the result. We didn't play very well that day. But every dog has its day, so we'll have to make sure if there's a next time, we're ready. Okay. Next question, Alan Merson. He says, to the best of my knowledge, no club has ever won promotion to the Football League with such a high percentage of young loan signings as Torquay United employ. It's a policy that I have, Alan, because you can't get excellent experienced loans, not at our level. You know, they won't come down to our level generally, unless it's their last season or the club that they're at, you know, don't want them anymore, and then obviously they cost a little bit more, even though you pay part of their money. So I always go for the young ones that you can develop, and 21's not that young, and we've had some great loans in the past couple of seasons. Obviously Seiko and Cundy, Connor, Jake, we've had Jackson, we've had Joe Lewis, and I've probably left one or two out there, but that have done well for us, and because they've done well for us, I know that if I can help the bigger clubs develop their young players, they're happy to pass those players on to me, and I've probably at this moment got probably a dozen players that I've had over the years that are now playing in the Championship or Premiership, and I'm really proud of that, because I always felt I've played a part in it. And a club like ours in the conference, and even if you're in the second division of the Football League, you have to rely on your judgment on getting in the young players that are committed to your football club, because they are natural competitors. And sometimes you have to bring in people because your team is a bit depleted through injuries, and that happened to us. Has happened to us this season, in the middle of the season, and you have to bring in players quickly, and they're the short-term ones. But the long-term ones that we've had, I think, have done very well for us, Alan. And you say, do you agree with the assertion that, and if so, can you say why you think that is the way forward? Well, I've said that it's the way forward because that's the way I do it, and it's been successful in previous successes. And can you show me a club that has? And I can show you that all my promotions at all levels have been because we've been able to do well with our loans, alongside, because you're only allowed 5 loans at any one time, alongside the people that you've got at your club. Okay, good question. Okay, so Alan James is the next one. how do you re-motivate players after a loss? My son is two-thirds way through his level 2 coaching. He's 17 years of age, that's starting early, and would love to hear what Gary has to say on the topic. How do you motivate players? You get players that can be motivated. That's the big thing, and I think that's the same in all walks of life, workers, etc., etc. But we have reviews at the end of games, after games, and the players know that I'm as honest as I can be with them. And you've got to get the trust of players first before you can start being very honest with them, you know what I mean? And in them reviews, if it's been a good game, I'll tell them and they'll know themselves. If it's not been a particularly good game by any individual or by the team, I also tell them. And I've got my own way of doing it, and sometimes it can get their backs up, but they know I'm doing it for the right reasons, and it's all forgotten after the review and when they've seen it and we've pointed out our strengths and weaknesses and why we've lost, or why we won. And then we move on ready for the next game, because often the next game is on the Tuesday after the Monday review. So I've got to be careful, but at the same time, I do try and be very honest with my players, and they know that. And sometimes they're happy with it, sometimes they're not, but they know it's going to come. Okay, thanks for that. Simply in these extraordinary times, do you think it would be good to open the away end to our supporters to help distancing, as travel for away supporters may be limited? That's an interesting one, but I don't think there'll be any spectators in stadiums until we've beaten this virus. You know, that's so important that we have to do that, so that we can then go back to our normal work. We can stand by people, we can kiss people, we can cuddle people, we can do what we like. We haven't got to, be 2 metres away or social distancing and all that sort of thing. What I do think is that I think it would be good, because when I watch it on the videos, I get disappointed when we score a great goal up the away end and there's nobody in it, and and all our support is the opposite side of our camera, or the camera, or underneath the camera. So you're seeing you're not seeing the pop side. You're seeing Bristow's bench stand, but when we score at the away end, there's nobody there, and it's a shame, because I'd love to see a little crowd there. So maybe I'll pass that on to the powers that be, because I'd love to see supporters all round the ground, but we won't get what you're asking for just yet, mate, because we're still in the throes of this horrible virus. Good question, oh, thank you. Okay, the next one is from Nigel Westlake, and he asks, he says that he's been a Torquay United Football Club supporter for over 50 years. Congratulations, mate. I have some very fond memories of some great players at the club, some who become legends. Unfortunately, I am struggling to build an affinity with the current team. Oh, that's a shame, mate. My problem being that there are so many loan players at the club. There's 6 players at the club, and I don't think that you couldn't have an affinity with almost all of them. I mean, if you look at Joe Lewis and Robbie Cundy, we're still not finished this season yet, and who knows where we're going to finish. I think last season we got some good loans that you must have had an affinity with, because it wasn't going so well for the club before that time. But I think you can trust the group that have been here longest. And I'm sure that, let's say we sneak into the playoffs and win it this year, we'll have an affinity with that group of players. And I'll only bring players in that have got not necessarily an affinity with the club, but they're natural competitors. And yes, they belong to another club, but while they're here, they're playing for us. And if I see 1% that they're not playing for us and they're trying to play for themselves, or play, for any other reason other than for Torquay United, I move them on, as you know. All right, so that's how that works, and hopefully that sort of has answered your question, Nigel. That's that one. You actually say, I would perhaps prefer to see a less gifted player that would die for his team, so as to speak, than a talented player that has no allegiance to the team. Well, I'm with you, but I want somebody who wants to die for the team, that's got an allegiance for the team. I'm looking for both. And I think in the current group of loans that we've got, I think we've got exactly that. Okay. All right, so whisked through them pretty sharpish. Sorry it's a bit later. Did I mention the T-shirt? Yes, I did. So until the next group of 7 questions, there you are again. I hope you're satisfied with the answers. They were a bit in-depth, them ones, so lighten it up a bit, will you, lads? All right, now listen, look after yourselves, and thanks for sending in the questions. It's good for everyone to learn what's in my head and me to put out there exactly what I feel. And I'm trying to be honest with all the questions you sent in for the information that we know. The big thing is at the moment we don't know what the legalised things from the FA and the National League are going to be coming back to us, i.e., as I said, the contracts, the loans, what dates are being moved, whether you can extend contracts, all that sort of thing. The players are waiting for that, the clubs are waiting for that, and hopefully it'll be out soon when we'll know exactly what direction we're going to be going in and when this virus is expected to be. When it's over, are the games going to be played? And that's what we need to know for sure, and we need to know the legalities of all the contracts, etc. Okay? All right, look after yourself. Sorry you didn't have no football today, but there you go. That's we just have to cope with it for a minute. But what we lose now, hopefully we'll get later on in the summer. Great to see you again. Well done, you Yellow Army, and I hope you enjoyed the T-shirt. See you soon.